Welcome to another episode, everyone. The LA Blood rapper who single-handedly, Mack10 we're talking about, terrorized the industry and terrorized the city of Inglewood by himself. He got into it with Ice Cube and they have not spoken for decades after being in business with one another. But if you know about Mack10, then you know he was not just rapping, he was really living some of this out in the industry, in the streets, before he even began rapping. There were many rappers like that who also really lived the lifestyle. These days now you have more individuals who are rapping and do not live any such lifestyle, but they're just talking about it.
I totally understand.
Classics.
I totally get it. But I'm just the kind of guy that, I rock with who rock with me.
If Lil Wayne and the Hot Boys and them wouldn't have met the homie Mack, if Mack10 would have went down there and signed on to them, man, them dudes would have been great streets. I stand on that, and I say it, and I stand on it. They would have been great streets.
I had never met Be Real, Muggs, Sin Dog.
You can't talk about big names in West Coast rap without bringing up Mack10. This guy wasn't just a key player in the music scene, he had a reputation for being a straight-up terror. As a core member of the Bloods, one of the most infamous gangs out there were even rumors that he was the one who brought so many rappers, including Lil Wayne and Birdman, into the fold.
If Lil Wayne and the Hot Boys and them wouldn't have met the homie Mack, if Mack10 would have went down there and signed on to them, man, them dudes would have been great streets. I stand on that, and I say it, and I stand on it. They would have been great streets.
Mack10 didn't care who you were. If you messed up, you were going to face the consequences, no questions asked. The man was basically terrorizing everyone, and plenty of artists can back this up. For example, Fat Joe once shared a story about how Mack10 almost beat up Common.
Fat Joe was with you,
Yeah.
because that's your homie as well.
Yeah.
And you and some other people, I guess, run into Common.
Yeah.
Fat Joe said that he saved Common's life in that interview. He said that it was about to go down and he had to step in the middle of it.
Technically, that's how it went.
The crazy part was the issue wasn't even with Common, it was with Common's friend.
The issue, just like Common said, the issue was with his homeboy. It wasn't even about the diss record.
Aha.
The issue came with his home.
But Mack10 didn't care about that. Common was about to catch a serious beatdown for what his friend did. Luckily, Joe stepped in and saved him, but his friend, yeah, he still got what was coming to him.
Things didn't go that smooth with his partner. They went smooth with him.
So you're saying something happened with Common's friend?
And then there's the story
Yes, that's
about
what he's saying.
Mack10 allegedly beating up Ice Cube's brother-in-law. That situation was so messy, it reportedly caused Mack10 and Ice Cube to cut ties altogether.
Ice Cube's brother-in-law got beat up.
Yeah, it was conflict, yeah. But I went to Cube about 4 or 5 times before the conflict jumped off.
Okay.
And told him to correct the situation.
Mack10 wasn't shy about beefing with people in the industry either. One of the wildest stories is how he allegedly beat up Ice Cube's brother-in-law, which led to him and Cube.
Well, yeah, we just heard that, but that's all you can really do. He said that he went to Cube 4 or 5 times, told him that there's a problem with this individual, straighten this out, correct this before it leads to violence. And apparently it was not corrected. If it's not corrected and the situation, the problem persists, then yeah, sooner or later it's going to lead to that if the situation is not resolved. Apparently he was trying to resolve it before it came to that. It was not able to be resolved, and so it led to violence.
Cube cutting ties. It's been over 2 decades and they still haven't spoken.
Is there any sort of world in which you guys get together, maybe do another West Side Connection, have a conversation?
Like I said earlier, I who me. You dig? That's where I'm at with it.
Then there's his beef with Cypress Hill. Despite both being affiliated with the Bloods, Mack had no problem dissing them.
I had never met Be Real, Muggs, Sin Dog.
With Mack10, anyone could catch the heat. There's a ton to dig into here, so let's break it all down. Mack10, born Diedrich Demon Rollison on August 9th, 1971, grew up in the city of Inglewood, California, during a time when Los Angeles County was going through some of its most turbulent years. By the 1980s, many areas like South Central, Watts, Compton, Long Beach, Carson, and of course Inglewood were facing major challenges. Gangs like the Crips, Bloods, Pirates, and Surenos had taken root in these neighborhoods, and their activities were leaving devastating effects on the communities. The rise of the drug trade only made things worse, fueling violence and sparking wars between rival groups. This era turned LA County into one of the most dangerous places in America, a reality Mack10 witnessed firsthand as a kid.
I mean, you're talking about the 80s. That's when crack first started hitting LA.
Right.
And you were right there at the epicenter of it all.
Right.
Mack grew up in an area of Inglewood known as Queen Street, which was
well, to be sure, it was extremely dangerous. These are the formative years. This is when the structure was really being built, and it was not safe to walk down the street. It really still is not safe to walk down the street in many areas. Everyone just must be careful. We're trying to end this nonsense now.
To the Queen Street Bloods. This gang represented the west side of Englewood and had become well established by the 1980s. They were part of a larger network of blood sets in the area, including the Inglewood family Bloods, the Neighborhood Pirates, the Avenue Pirates, and the Crenshaw Mafia Bloods, among others.
Oh my
the Queen
God.
Street Bloods.
Pyrus, not Pirates. Pyrus, he means. Pyrus.
Bloods had their fair share of rivalries, not just with Crip sets, but even with other blood gangs at times. Growing up in this environment, Mack10 was automatically connected to the gang lifestyle just by being a part of the neighborhood. It wasn't necessarily a choice. It was more about knowing everyone in the community, from friends to older guys he looked up to. Like most kids, Mack10 had dreams of doing something big. At one point, he hoped to play sports and make it to the NFL, but life didn't pan out that way.
At one time, I probably thought, I was probably going to play in the NFL or something, you know what I'm saying? But, the ball don't bounce like that all the time. And then,
Right.
By the time he reached middle school, his interests began to shift. He started gravitating towards something else that would eventually define his career: music. Hip-hop in particular caught his attention, and he was heavily influenced by people in his neighborhood who were already into the rap scene. Some of Mack10's earliest inspirations came from legendary acts like NWA, who were at the forefront of gangster rap during that time. Over the years, Mack began to develop his own style and started building a buzz locally. He became known for his lyrical skills and even joined a group called First Amendment. This group gave him an outlet to express himself and further refine his craft. Through mutual connections, Mack10 eventually crossed paths with some key figures in the music industry. One of his earliest big breaks came when he was introduced to Eazy-E. A founding member of NWA, Eazy saw potential in Mack and had him write a few records. This not only boosted Mack's confidence, but also helped him start building valuable connections. As time went on, Mack10 met other influential figures in the industry, including DJ Bobcat and DJ Pooh. These relationships would eventually lead him to members of the Lynch Mob, a group associated with Ice Cube. Mack found himself in the same studio as Cube, where they collaborated on a few songs. Mack10's relationship with Ice Cube continued to grow stronger as they hit the road together on tour with the Lynch Mob. This bond led to more collaborations, with Mack10 contributing to some Lynch Mob tracks, and even landing a spot on the Friday movie soundtrack in 1995. Thanks to Ice Cube's influence and support, Mack10 secured a record deal with Priority Records. This set the stage for his rise in the industry, but while their partnership was a huge boost for Mack's career, it also dragged him into one of the more infamous rap beefs of the 90s, a feud between Ice Cube and Cypress Hill. The drama started with the Friday movie soundtrack, which Ice Cube curated. One of the standout tracks on the album was Roll It Up, Light It Up, Smoke It Up, a Cypress Hill song. The group had agreed to contribute that track, but according to Be Real, a member of Cypress Hill, the real problem began when Ice Cube heard another song during their studio session. While listening to tracks for the movie, Ice Cube got a sneak peek of Cypress Hill's upcoming album Temples of Boom. They played him Throw Your Set in the Air, their lead single. Cube loved the song.
Yeah, it was a lot. They had a real beef going on back then, Cube and Cypress Hill. But Mack10 had hooked up with Ice Cube, and as we can see, had got on the Friday soundtrack. And this is when he started making his way into the industry and being successful and making a name for himself. Of course, he had ended up marrying T-Boz from of TLC fame, and that marriage had some turmoil at some point. She had accused him of beating on her and all of that, I believe. T-Boz, Mack10's wife. Mack10 had a few things going on, and there were some people in the industry that did not want to try him and really believed that he was really from the street.
and wanted it for the Friday soundtrack instead. Cypress Hill politely declined since it was the title track for their upcoming project.
Play him the song and he likes it. He goes, yeah, that's perfect, you know. Me and Muggs asked him, hey man, we got a couple of tracks from the album, you wanna hear it?
We played him a song called Throw Your Set in the Air. And he was like, oh, that's banging, that's banging. Can I get that for the movie instead?
They're like, man, we'd love to give it to you, but this is gonna be the single on our album.
Cube pressed a bit, even asking them to play it again. They did, but they stood firm that the track was off limits. Fast forward to the release of the Friday soundtrack, which came out shortly before Temples of Boom. A friend of B Real's heard one of the songs on the soundtrack and immediately called him, saying, "Did you let Ice Cube use one of your album tracks for Friday?" Confused, B Real explained that they had only given Cube Roll It Up, Light It Up, Smoke It Up. But the friend wasn't talking about that track. He was referring to something that sounded suspiciously like Throw Your Set in the Air. Skeptical at first, B Real listened to Cube's track and his heart sank. The hook sounded eerily similar to their song, with only minor tweaks to the lyrics.
The Get High song, yeah, we gave that up already. Why? No. The Throw Your Set in the Air thing. I said, no, we didn't give him that. He goes, well, that shit is in his chorus in his song. Finally, I hear it, and sure enough, there it is, the same. It's like some of the words are changed around, but for the most part, the chorus is the same.
Feeling betrayed, B Real aired his frustrations in the studio, and word quickly got back to Ice Cube through Mack10. Cube, trying to address the situation, called B Real to hash things out. He claimed it was all a misunderstanding, and the matter died down. Then, Ice Cube later invited B Real to the studio to record a guest vocal for Caution, a group signed to Lynch Mob Records. During the session, B Real heard a few lines from a song that sounded almost identical to lyrics from Temples of Boom. He couldn't believe it. Was Cube trying to lift from them again? B Real noticed that Cube seemed to pick.
Cube got sticky fingers, huh? This is how he was a mass successful producer and rapper. He's taking people's songs, taking people's lyrics, allegedly. This is the second time at least B Real saying, oh man, what's going on? This is my stuff. You didn't invite me to the studio to perform, and then I turn around and listen to some songs, and the songs belong to me. What the hell?
Up on his reaction because when he stepped out of the room and came back, the lines had been removed. To be real, this was proof that Cube had been caught red-handed once more.
And I heard a couple lines
again
that were the same things I used on the Temple of Boom record. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, that's my line. In my opinion, I felt like he saw my reaction, and I walked out of the room for a second to make a phone call. When I came back, the line was gone.
This was the tipping point for Cypress Hill. B Real.
You walked out to make a phone call, came back, the line was gone. Well, I mean, this is what goes on in the industry, plagiarism, and this is what was going on back then, particularly when hip hop was just getting started and people trying to find their style and find their way. They're emulating others, taking their lyrics.
Went back to his crew, told them what happened, and they decided it was time to take action. The group released No Rest for the Wicked, a scathing diss track aimed squarely at Ice Cube. When Cypress Hill dropped No Rest for the Wicked, Ice Cube didn't take it lying down. Known for his sharp pen and fearless approach to beefs, Cube decided to retaliate, and he didn't hold back. Ice Cube had already built a reputation as one of the most influential and fearless MCs in hip-hop history, with battles like his takedown of NWA and Jerry Heller in No Vaseline and his defense of West Coast rap against Common. This time, though, he brought Mack10 into the equation, and the two went straight for Cypress Hill with their diss track King of the Hill. Mack10, still early in his career, didn't hesitate for a second to jump into the fight, even though he had never met anyone from Cypress Hill personally. Loyalty was everything to Mack, and Ice Cube was his guy.
I had never met B Real, Muggs, Sin Dog, nobody from Cypress Hill. And they was blood. But I was with this so I didn't give a
It didn't matter to Mack that Cypress Hill members were fellow Bloods. His allegiance to Cube came first.
All right, his allegiance to Cube. He stayed down for Cube. He stayed down from day one. And now they haven't spoken in decades. I mean, it never fails. We see this all of the time. Family members and all falling out in the industry over money, over bad dealings, and not speaking with each other for decades. That's just crazy. After being so cool and so close with one another, How can you let these sort of things come between you? This material stuff. I don't know what happened with this situation, but I do know that they haven't spoken in decades. That's it. Whatever the reason, man.
In interviews, Mack later explained that this mindset came from the way he was raised. His dad taught him that loyalty meant sticking by your people no matter what, whether they were right or wrong. You could call them out in private later, but when it came to the public, you rode for them without question. Interestingly, not everyone in Ice Cube's camp felt the same way. WC, a founding member of Westside Connection alongside Cube and Mack, decided to sit this one out. According to Mack,
it's not WC, it's Dub C. Dub C. Westside Connect. Keep it rolling like OG. Homie, get it together. He's butchering the legends, bro. Got to be AI, but dang.
WC had a personal connection with Cypress Hill and didn't want to get involved. But Mack wasn't about to take that route. He made it clear that knowing someone didn't change how he handled things. If you came for his crew, he was coming for you.
Dub told me that he knew them, and that's why he stayed out of it or whatever.
See that? Did you hear that? He said, Dub, man, Dub. Damn.
No, you or not. That's the way I was raised, though. My daddy was a gangster, and that's how he instilled that in me. You ride with your talk about and tell how wrong he was later, after the fact. But if it's going down, you gotta ride with it.
The diss track King of the Hill was Ice Cube and Mack10 firing on all cylinders. Cube, as always, delivered with precision while Mack matched his energy with raw aggression. The song made it clear that they weren't here to play, and their chemistry as collaborators was undeniable. It was a direct response to Cypress Hill, but it also showed just how tight Cube and Mack's bond had become. Cypress Hill wasn't done though. They fired back with another diss track, upping the ante by recruiting someone who sounded eerily like Ice Cube during his NWA days. The goal was to mimic Cube dissing himself, a clever tactic meant to turn the tables. But despite the effort, the track didn't land the way they hoped. It failed to gain traction, and instead of dealing a blow to Cube and Mack, it just faded into the background. The beef between Ice Cube and Cypress Hill grew deeper as both fans and artists began taking sides. Tensions in the Los Angeles rap scene were already high, and this feud only added fuel to the fire. Around the same time, Ice Cube was dealing with another issue involving LA artists Cam and Solo, who were caught up in a business feud with him. Things came to a head when Cube and Solo crossed paths at a Los Angeles traffic light. According to Solo, the encounter quickly turned physical. He claimed to have gotten the better of Ice Cube during the fight, and in the scuffle, Cube's chain somehow ended up in Solo's possession.
Knocked him down, knocked him out, woke him back up, whooped on his ass. Somehow his chain fell in my hand. I don't know how it got in my hand, but it fell in my hand.
Not one to let a moment like that go unnoticed, Solo made his way to a Cypress Hill show at the House of Blues, where he held the chain up for the crowd to see. The audience went wild, and the moment was even captured in a photo that circulated widely at the time. With tensions running high between Cube, Mack10, and Cypress Hill, people began worrying that the beef could escalate beyond music. Fans, neighborhoods, and even gangs started to pick sides.
You know, that's just reminiscent of the Biggie and Tupac beef, really. I remember this, and fans were indeed picking sides, and there were beefs in the street. I remember Cube lost his chain when it fell into Cam is from Watts. I'm not sure about Solo. Cam was from Watts. They had a big beef going on back in those days. This stuff been going on the internet and in hip hop, and it has cost people their lives. And he says that the chain ended up in his hand. Yeah. Oh, man.
There were real fears that the conflict could pit not just crews, but also races and gangs against each other. These concerns weren't baseless. The 90s were a tumultuous time in hip-hop, marked by violent rivalries and tragic losses. Tupac Shakur's death in 1996 had sent shockwaves through the culture, and rumors began swirling that the Mexican mafia might get involved in the Cube-Cypress Hill feud. Thankfully, cooler heads prevailed, and the beef never spiraled into real-world violence. As the situation calmed down, Mack10 found himself playing an unexpected role in resolving the conflict. According to Mack, someone
I never heard that the Mexican mafia might get involved. Why would they get involved? It's just some internet beef.
Gave him B-Real's number and told him that B-Real wanted to talk. Mack agreed to the call, and the two had an honest conversation. Mack explained that his loyalty to Ice Cube meant he had to ride with him during the feud, even if it meant going against fellow Bloods. B-Real, to his credit, said he understood and wasn't mad at Mack for sticking to his principles.
He asked me, so what's it gonna take for you and Cube to squash this? I said, you know, just like you, all he's gotta do is call me.
And I explained to him where I was coming from.
And see, it's crazy because you remember Dub C, he didn't get involved in it. They were all together at that time. They had the West Side connection. He didn't get involved in the beef. Remember, I covered Dub C the other day. Dub C just said that he didn't get involved because he knew Be Real. He was cool with Be Real. He was friends with Be Real, that Be Real had stayed at his house. So he'd already told Ice Cube, you know, y'all have this beef going on. I'm not getting involved in that. I'm not about to make diss records against him or any of that. And he did not. He didn't get it. Mack10 did. Mack10 rolled with Ice Cube, took his side, got in on the record, and, you know, and involved himself in the beef. He was riding for Cube. Not that Dub C wasn't, because it's just that Be Real was Dub C's friend. Dub C did what he was supposed to do. He stayed stumped down, stayed real to both sides. I'm not getting involved, and I don't want y'all beefing. But Mack10 and Be Real is a blood. But he still took Ice Cube's side. He said, I didn't even know Be Real, had never met them, but I still got on a diss track with Ice Cube because this was my boy. And I was taught to stay down. My daddy taught me how to be a gangster, stay down with my people. So that's what I did. We'll deal with, if he's wrong, we'll deal with that later. But right now, because Cube might have been wrong, but I stayed down with him. This is what ended up happening when he stayed down. Cube ended up selling out to Donald Trump anyway, so whatever.
I don't got nothing to do with it, but that's my homeboy, and I'm riding with it. He said, you know what, homie? I can respect that. I can't even be mad at you.
That phone call proved to be the turning point. Mack10 managed to convince Ice Cube to get on the phone with Be Real, and the two finally talked things out. The beef was officially squashed, putting an end to one of the more intense rivalries of the era. But just as one feud ended, another began. This time between Mack10 and Ice Cube themselves. Their falling out would eventually lead to the end of West Side Connection and the two not speaking to each other for decades. According to Mack, the tension started over an incident involving Ice Cube's brother-in-law. In a now deleted 2010 interview with All Hip Hop and a 2020 sit-down with DJ Vlad, Mack explained his side of the story. He claimed that Cube's brother-in-law had been disrespectful toward him, and he tried to address the issue diplomatically. Mack said he approached Cube about the situation 4 or 5 times, asking him to intervene and resolve it before things got out of hand. I wasn't trying to start anything, Mack said during the Vlad interview. If you go to somebody 5 times before it escalates, that shows you were trying to be diplomatic about it. Nobody wanted things to go to that level.
Friction. Yeah, it was conflict, yeah. You know, but I went to Cube about 4 or 5 times before the conflict jumped off.
Okay.
And told him to correct the situation. If you go to somebody 5 times before it escalates, then you was trying to be diplomatic about the situation.
Despite Mack's attempts to handle things peacefully, the conflict eventually boiled over, and it led to Cube's brother-in-law reportedly getting beat up. This incident was the breaking point for Mack and Cube's relationship. In interviews over the years, Mack10 has made it clear he doesn't believe the fallout between him and Ice Cube should have been enough to dismantle West Side Connection. During a quanda with All Hip Hop, later shared via Hip Hop DX, Mack reflected on the situation, explaining that in his eyes, the issue wasn't serious enough to sever their professional relationship. Basically, I didn't do anything to him, and he didn't do anything to me, Mack explained. We had an argument, and I guess it was taken the wrong way because his wife was present. If she wasn't there, we'd probably still be doing records. Mack went on to share more details about what...
Yeah, I was going to say that was probably his Cube's wife's brother. It keeps saying Cube's brother-in-law, Cube's wife's brother, that Mack10 done beat up. But as he said, you know, you go to a man 5 times, that means I'm trying to be diplomatic about it. I'm trying to resolve the issue without it escalating, without any violence. Not blaming Cube, because maybe Cube tried to resolve it. Maybe the brother-in-law didn't listen. Maybe the brother-in-law's or Cube felt like Mack10 was the one that was wrong in the situation, whatever the situation may have been. I don't know what the situation was. Nevertheless, just going off of what Mack10 says, when he says I was trying to handle the situation, I was trying to be diplomatic, there's evidence of that if it's proven that he went to Ice Cube 4 or 5 times. But at the end of the day, the fact is they have not spoken in decades, and with apparently no end in sight. And as Mack10 said, if Cube's wife would not have been there during the argument, they probably would have been okay. But apparently the argument really took a turn because Cube's wife is there. And of course, Cube is going to feel like he has to defend and support his wife and his hurt brother. So who knows how bad the argument became, and bad enough to where these individuals broke up, where they were making money with the West Side Connect, fractured that and haven't spoken since.
Caused the tension. The root of the problem, according to Mack, was Cube's brother-in-law, who Mack described as disrespectful. Mack claimed he brought the issue to Ice Cube 3 or 4 times before things escalated. It was brought to Cube multiple times before the bullish happened. I don't know what kind of dude he is now, but back then, he was disrespectful, Mack said, despite how things turned out. Mack has been open about the regret he feels over the fallout. In a 2011 interview with Vibe, Mack admitted he wasn't sure if he and Cube would ever speak again. It's a sentiment he's echoed in later interviews, though he's also expressed that he doesn't hold any grudges. Interestingly, there's also been speculation that Mack was upset with Cube for refusing to go on a second tour to promote Westside Connection's final studio album, Terrorist Threats. While neither Mack nor Cube has ever publicly addressed this rumor, it's one of many theories about what might have contributed to their falling out. For his part, Ice Cube has largely stayed tight-lipped about the details of the breakup. When asked about it in interviews, Cube has alluded to a violation that he felt couldn't be overlooked.
It's just a violation that can't be overlooked.
During an interview on It Is What It Is, hosted by Cameron, Cube was asked about his relationship with Mack, particularly why he only performs with WC and not Mack10. Cube didn't shy away from the question, but he kept his response measured. "Nah, we don't get down like that," Cube said, referring to his current dynamic with Mack10. "It's just me and Dub. Me and Dub, we're from the same neighborhood. We grew up right around the corner from each other, so we've always been down since day one. I'm just happy he's still hanging out and going out on stage with me. We've been all over the world together, so it's a great thing." When pressed further, Cube—
Yeah, well, you and Mack10 are from the same neighborhood too. Basically. South Central LA, Inglewood, Long Beach, Compton is all the freaking same in many ways as far as the gang culture is concerned. I mean, we're all black, and all of this divisiveness never gets us anywhere. You grew up with Dub C, so it's cool to still perform with him. Well, Mack10 was right there, just a stone's throw away from where you grew up with Dub C. And that's your brother, and he stayed down. I don't know what happened with this situation again. Apparently something happened. Cube is here saying that it was a violation that cannot be overlooked. So obviously it was something pretty serious, and for them not to speak for decades and to stop getting money together.
Batted. Yeah, it's a problem. It's a thing where it's just a violation that can't be overlooked. He didn't elaborate on what that violation was, but it's clear the rift between him and Mack runs deep.
It's a problem with Mack.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Meanwhile, Mack10 has also been clear about where he stands. In a
it's a
2023 interview with Bootleg Kev, Mack addressed their falling out,
being honest,
reiterating that he doesn't harbor ill will, but isn't actively looking to patch things up either. "I F with who F with me, you dig? That's where I'm at with it," Mack said. "If you F with me, I F with you. But if it's F me, it's F you. I ain't seen him or talked to him in damn near 20 years. So
that's how everybody feels.
For fans of Westside Connection, the ongoing estrangement between Mack10 and Ice Cube is a bittersweet reality. Their chemistry on tracks like Bowdown and Gangstas Make the World Go Round showcased a unique dynamic that can't be replicated. But as both artists have made clear, the wounds from their falling out may be too deep to heal, leaving their once iconic partnership as little more than a chapter in hip-hop history.
Yep. Dang, that's crazy, man. I used to listen to the Westside Connect, of course. I used to listen to Dub C and his own albums, Cube and his own albums, Mack10 and them. I mean, and then when they came together, after they were together, the whole nine. You know, but Mack10, he was a force to be reckoned with in the industry, in the LA area, in the LA district, in the LA culture, in the gang culture, in the hip hop culture in LA at that time in the 90s. You know, and people were respectful of him. They were afraid of him, for sure. Many people were, just like they were of Suge Knight. They were of Mack10 in different ways and for different reasons. But he was an individual that you could tell, you knew that he would bag up whatever it is that he may say, and that he was not one of the individuals that you could approach and get anything from, do anything to, make him check in, let's say, this sort of stuff here. He was really in the street. Shout out to Mack10. Cube, I don't know, he sold us out with Donald Trump. Another day, another raccoon, we calling all these sellouts out. We're sick of it, so I don't know about him. Shout out to Mack10 though, and because Cube used to be down, used to stay down, but he turned cold on us, man. That's what he did. He turned. But it's just, it always befuddles me when I see individuals who were so close and then they end up breaking up over money. And it never fails that that's what it ends up being over money. That's what it comes down to. In this situation, that was different. In this situation, they just end up losing a lot of money for, not being able to continue in their careers. I mean, Cube still is Cube, still making movies, and having leagues. Cube still, it didn't really affect his money. He's a smart individual and a smart businessman. Not saying that Mack10 is not, but it affected their legacy in some way. There you have it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Stay safe and stay free, people.